So I'm going to discuss and demonstrate an example of advanced compositing in Photoshop, which basically just means bringing layers together and doing something creative with it. Now, there are millions of ways that you can combine layers and in various ways to create things. So what I really just want to demonstrate here is that compositing isn't always about creating surreal, fantastical landscapes and creatures. It can actually be about creating something like a social media post. So I want to just go through an example of that. It is by no means the only way that you can compile compositions. Once you know the tools in Photoshop, the sky is the limit. Okay, so I'm going to create a new document. I'll choose web. This is going to be an Instagram advert, let's just say hypothetically. And I'll set it to 1080 by 1080, and I'll set it to 150 resolution just because 72, which will be the final output, is a bit too low to work with. All right, and then I'm going to place embedded, and I have these downloadable images that you can download yourself and follow along and practice if you like. So I've got this Coke wave, and I'm going to scale it up, so holding Alt or Option so that it scales from the center out. All right, and then what I'm going to do is use my Magic Wand tool to select just the white, and I'm going to lift that into its own layer, so Control or Command J. Then I'm going to add a new layer in here, and I'm going to use eyedropper to pick up this red, and then Alt or Option backspace to fill that layer. So I now have the white stripe on its own layer and the red on its own layer. And I can now delete this Coke wave. I don't need it anymore. So I'm just going to say Coke red and white swash. Okay, then I'm going to place the Coke logo. So File, Place Embedded, and Coke logo. All right, and I want to actually make it white. So I'm going to say select color range. I'm going to click on that red, but I'm going to change this to sampled colors first. Click on the red, and that's fine. Say OK, and then I'm going to take my lasso tool and subtract this little MR here. Okay, so now I have just the Coca-Cola logo selected. I'm going to Control or Command J to lift it into its own layer, and then I'm going to delete the original. And I'll call this Coke logo. And then I'll apply a layer style to it. So down here, FX, color overlay, and I'll set it to white. Okay, and move that up here. All right, then I want to place an image that I downloaded of an astronaut. And I want to select just the astronaut, so I'm going to use my object selection tool and drag over the astronaut. I'm then going to add a layer mask so that he or she is masked, and then I'm just going to scale it a bit and rotate it so the astronaut is kind of floating in space down here. Okay, and I want to make it match these sort of Coke colors, so I'm going to first of all apply a layer mask for levels. And I'm going to exaggerate the contrast in the image. Now I only want this layer this adjustment layer to, sorry, it wasn't a layer mask, it was an adjustment layer. I want it to only apply to this layer, so I'm going to hold down Alt or Option and click between the two layers so that it only applies to that layer. Now what I want to do is add a hue and saturation adjustment layer. I'll hold down Alt or Option to restrict it to just this layer. And then I'm going to colorize and I'm going to bring the saturation up really high and make sure it's just on red. Okay, so now I've got this astronaut that kind of matches the Coke colors. And then finally, so I'm actually going to take these three and group them and just call it astronaut. Okay, notice the way I'm managing my layers all the time. And then I'm going to add, so place image, and I've got a Coke bottle. And I'm going to use my object selection tool and select the bottle. My selection isn't great, so I'm going to go to select and mask. And let's choose on white. And let's go and have a look here. So I'm going to use my quick selection tool and Alt to subtract, or Option. And I'm just going to clean up this bottle. Okay, you can take more time with this, but that's acceptable. All right, and I'm going to apply a layer mask and then scale this. And I want it to look like the astronaut is actually holding this Coke bottle. Okay, and I'm going to take these. I'm going to actually put the Coke bottle down here as well, so that it's receiving the same adjustment layers as the other object. And then I want to just mask it. So I'm going to select the layer mask, and I'm going to choose B for brush and black. And I want to just see here. Okay, I want to just mask this. I think I need a harder brush. Oh, my brush is hard. Oh, okay. I need to reset my brush. So right click, reset tool, and I'm going to undo. Okay, and now I can brush. Reset tool. There we go. Okay, so I want it to look like he's holding the bottle in his hand. Okay, and the bottle's a bit too big. So let's go here. And just nudge it into position. Okay. Still a bit too big, but it has to be visible. Now what I want is some bubbles to be going up out of the bottle as if there's zero gravity and the Coke is kind of coming out with bubbles. So I want to create a special brush for this, and I'm going to make a special layer at the top here. I'll call it bubbles. And I'm going to make sure that my foreground color is white. And that's what it looks like. I need it to have 100% hardness, so there's no softness there. So that's kind of bubble thing that I'm looking at. But then I'm going to go over here to my brush settings and I'm going to go to brush tip shape, and I'm going to increase the spacing so that I can see those circles. Then I'm going to go to shape dynamics, and I'm going to increase the size jitter. Jitter just means variation, so the size will vary. I'm also going to go to the scattering, and I'm going to scatter them a bit and increase the count to 2. Okay, so if I now paint with this brush, you can see I get a nice bubble effect, but I want it to be quite smooth here. So I'm going to take my pen tool, make sure that I'm on path, and I'm going to draw a smooth line with my pen tool. like that. Go to my direct selection tool and let's just adjust this a bit. Okay, so now I've got that path. If I select that path, go to my brush that I've just created and click on this button which says stroke path, and now get those bubbles going in the shape of that path. Okay, so that is just a quick example of all the different ways that you can mix and match effects and filters and selection tools and layers to create something original. And advanced compositing is really just about using your imagination with the basic tools in Photoshop to get what you want.